Hey, what's up everyone? This is Music Tech Help Guy, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to use a feature in Logic Pro called Quick Swipe Comping. Now, the word comping, or comp, comes from the word composite, or to create a composite take. So that's the goal here, is to take multiple takes and create a really nice sounding composite take. Now, off screen, I already recorded some new guitar parts. By the way, this Logic session will be available below as a free download if you want to work along with me, but I do need to record some vocal parts. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to track 3 different vocal takes. And again, bear with me. I'm not the best singer in the world, but I'll do my best to stay in time and in pitch. But at least what this will give us is a realistic representation of what it's like to work with a singer and have to piece together the best parts of takes, because not every take is going to be perfect and not every take is going to be flawless. So let's get right into this. I'm just going to hit record and then track my first take. And just like I showed you in the previous video, we're just going to overlap takes and it'll record all of these into a take folder. Now that you're sober, don't tell me that it's over. Don't turn this ship around and tell me that you can't give one more day. Don't ever tell me why. Don't you ever tell me why. 'Cause I don't want to know. I carried your heart when you needed me. That's just how our love was meant to be. I keep on tearing through these tragedies. I took the brunt of your shame and all your misery. I gave you everything and you left me in the cold. Okay, so there's our first take. I'm just going to go back and record right on top of this take, and let's just give this another go. Now that you're sober, don't tell me that it's over. Don't turn this ship around and tell me that you can't give one more day. Don't ever tell me why. Don't you ever tell me why. 'Cause I don't want to know. Okay, this time I think I'm going to turn up the metronome a bit, just as a rhythmic reference, because I can tell I'm getting a little loose with some of the rhythms. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So you can do this by going up to the metronome, right-clicking or control-clicking, and then selecting metronome settings. And then down here, you'll see a volume slider where you can increase the volume of the metronome. And you can also adjust the tone of the metronome, which is like the pitch of the metronome. So you can have it higher or lower. Okay, so let's layer up our third take. Now that you're sober, don't tell me that it's over. Don't turn this ship around and tell me that you can't give one more day. Don't ever tell me why. Don't you ever tell me why. 'Cause I don't want to know. I've carried your heart when you needed me. That's what your love was meant to be. I keep on tearing through your tragedies. I took the brunt of your shame and all your misery. It's just... And I totally messed that part up. Okay, so we're going to get a really realistic portrayal of the singer that forgets his lyrics. So I've got a few flubs in the second and third take. The first take is pretty good, but there's some pitchy things and some timing issues we've got to fix. So let's jump into Logic, and I'll show you how to use Quick Swipe Comping to comp together these different vocal takes. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Boombox. Boombox.io is a really cool new service for audio and music professionals looking to collaborate with other musicians, producers, or mixing clients. With Boombox, you can batch upload your mixes, stems, multi-tracks, or rough musical ideas, invite collaborators to your project, and receive detailed production feedback on your tracks. all of the feedback is time-stamped, so you can easily pinpoint the exact locations in a track where you need to make changes. If you're ready to give Dropbox the boot, head over to boombox.io, sign up for a free account, and it comes with 10 gigabytes of free storage. Okay, so we're back in Logic. You can see I've got 3 take folders here, one for the vocals and 2 for the acoustic guitars. The way I recorded the acoustic guitars is there are 2 takes in each take folder. So again, you just double click on a take folder to open it up, and that reveals both of the takes inside. And then you can see that inside of the vocal take folder, I've got 3 takes, take 1, 2, and 3. But one thing I want to show you real quick before I even get into the comping portion of this video is I want to show you how to unpack and pack take folders. So it's very simple. You just right click or control click up at the top of the take folder here, then go down to folder. And then from here, there's 2 options to unpack the take folders. I typically use this option. And what this will do is it'll show the actual comped take at the top and then the 3 loose takes at the bottom. Now, if you want to put these back in a take folder, it's as simple as dragging over all 3 of these, right clicking, and then going down to folder and then select pack take folder. And then I can double click and collapse the take folder and delete my 2 extra tracks. Although I will have to rename my track here as vocals. And you may also have to rename the takes. You can see it's changed these to vocals 3, take 1. You can rename your takes if you just right click and select rename take. So I could just name this something more generic like take 3, take 2, and take 1. Okay, so let's get on with the comping. So I'm going to start with the acoustic guitars, actually. So I'm actually going to mute the vocals because there are a couple mistakes in the guitars. So let's just solo the left guitar here. One thing that's really helpful is if you don't have like a rhythmic reference in your song, like a drum track or something, it actually helps to turn the click track on while editing, because then you can better hear timing issues in the take. This particular guitar, actually, I think both of them come in kind of early, like ahead of the beat. So I may want to correct for that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of use the beginning of take 2, and then I'm going to jump back into take 1 because take 2 doesn't come in quite as early. And I think the rhythm is a bit more on point. You can see it's a bit more on the grid. So with quick swipe comping, all you have to do is just click and swipe over any of the unused takes, and you can make a selection to move up to the comped take. So now when I play this back, we're going to hear take 2 at first, and then at bar 4, it's going to jump down to take 1. And again, as I mentioned in the previous video, it automatically crossfades the edit points. Okay, and the rest of that take is fine. It was just that one little spot there I wanted to bring into the comped take. Now let's take a look at the second guitar, the guitar on the right here. Same thing, I've got 2 different takes. The first take I did has the complete part, and then the second take I only played up to here, but there is a mistake in this take right here. But let's give take 1 a listen through up to that point, just to make sure that there are no other errors in my playing. So one thing I'm noticing is this guitar is kind of a little off as well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a bit of take 2 at the beginning here and just use quick swipe comping to comp that in. And it helps to bring in the other guitar as well, because not only do I want to hear the guitar on its own, make sure there's no mistakes, I also want to hear the interplay between the 2 different guitar parts. If one is vastly different than the other, I may need to select a different take. So there's obviously some sort of a mistake here in guitar 2. So let's maybe bring this edit point all the way over to here. Now, when you're comping, when you're using quick swipe comping, I do not recommend placing these edit points directly on transients. A transient is just a peak area in the waveform like this or like this. It's an area of peak energy in the waveform. I also don't recommend placing edit points right in like a heavy part of the waveform here. I recommend placing edit points in between transients at lower points in the waveform because this will make the edit easier to hide. So let's give that a listen from there. So here's that mistake I was talking about in the second guitar. So let's go ahead and just comp in, maybe let's go up to there. Cool. So the acoustic guitars are good. Now, one thing I want to show you that you can do here is once you're done comping, if you want to commit these edits and create a new region, essentially consolidating all of these takes into a new region, what you can do is click on this little letter here. It just says A for right now. And the reason why it says A is you can actually store multiple different versions of a composite take within the take folder. So since we're just using one, it's just A, but you can have A, B, C, D, and so forth and so on. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go down and use this option, flatten and merge. You can also press Option U for this. And what this will do is it'll flatten or consolidate all of those edits into a new region, and it'll merge all of the edits together, including those crossfades. So let's do that for this one as well. Option U. And now I have two complete regions with all of those edits consolidated into new regions. Now, one thing I am going to do here is I'm going to select both of these. You just hold Shift and select both regions. And as long as you're using the main pointer tool, you can grab the left or right side of a region and you can trim it up. So I could trim up all of this background noise. And just be aware that your trim functions do follow the snap mode that you have selected. So if I have this on division, for example, this is going to snap to the divisions on the grid. So for now, I'm just going to turn snap off and then just trim these up just like so. Now it may be worth doing the same at the end here. Right before we get to that little squeak, what I'll do is pull these in just like so. And one quick trick I want to show you is that you can actually add fade ins or fade outs to regions just by holding Shift and Control and then dragging from within the region to the outside of the region. And you can do this to one region at a time or multiple regions. So this is a little fade out now, so that sustain of that last chord will slowly fade out. Okay, I'll do the same for the beginning as well. Just add a little fade at the beginning. I call this heads and tails editing. It's generally not a good idea to just leave audio regions open like that, because if there's any audible audio at the front end or back end of a region, it can cause a noticeable pop or click in the audio. So this just helps to hide the edits in the mix so we don't hear the edit points. Okay, so now let's move on to the vocals. I'm actually going to bring this up to the top here. And right now we're on take 3, which is the top take. Take 2 and take 1. By the way, another way to switch between takes if you don't even want to open the take folder is you can right click or control click out here and you can just select the 3 takes. That's another way to do it. But let's employ our quick swipe comping here. So let's start with take 1. The way I like to do this is I like to make a selection using the cycle range and listen to each phrase individually and then jump back and forth between the phrases to determine which take was the best take. Now, obviously, this is a bit subjective, but I like to listen for pitch issues and timing issues, but also issues with the tone and the inflection of the performance. We're going to listen in for all of those things as we use quick swipe comping on these vocals. Now that you're sober, don't tell me that it's over. So that's take one. I'm going to swipe over take two. Let's listen to that one. Now that you're sober, don't tell me that it's over. Okay, now once you've made a selection, you no longer have to click and swipe anymore. You can just click and it'll jump between the three takes, keeping that same selection. Now that you're sober, don't tell me that it's over. So I think take one's the best take here. So let's move on to the next phrase. I'll just move my cycle range over and let's continue on. Don't turn this ship around and tell me that you can't give one more day. Okay, that was all right. Let's make another selection here on take two. Don't turn this ship around and tell me that you can't give one more day. The pitch on that one is a lot better. Don't turn this ship around and tell me that you can't give one more day. I'm going to go with take two. I think take one and two are okay. Let me try editing it like in here. Maybe just get a little bit of that front end from take one and then the rest from take two. Don't turn this ship around and tell me that you can't give one more day. Don't ever tell me why. Don't you ever tell me why. Don't ever tell me why. Don't ever tell me why. Don't you ever tell me why. So I like the don't here. I like the ever tell me why, or you ever tell me why. And then I think over here I'm going to use a different take. Don't you ever tell me why. Take two. Don't you ever tell me why. I definitely don't want take three there, so let's go to take one. Let's listen to that whole section. So we're jumping from take one to take three and then back to take one again. Don't ever tell me why. Don't you ever tell me why. Okay, one thing I want to show you here is that you can actually switch between quick swipe comping and just standard editing mode. If you click right here on the take folder, you'll see this switches to this scissors icon. And that means now we can just manually edit the region as we normally would. So like this word don't, I really want it to be right here on the grid. It's a little late. If I wanted to sort of just nudge that forward, what I could do is separate that word, move it forward, and then switch back to quick swipe comping. Now, in order to do this, you can use the marquee tool or you can use the scissors tool. I know we haven't really gone into detail about each of the audio editing tools or the tracks area editing tools yet. We will very, very shortly in just a couple more videos. But for this, I'm going to use the scissors tool. And just like in the piano roll editor, the tool that's on the left is your regular left click tool. And the tool that's on the right is your command click tool. So if I hold command, this will switch over to the scissors tool. So what I can do at this point is just cut out that word, just like so. And it separates that region from the rest of the take. And then with snap mode off, I can just sort of nudge this over. I'll trim out the end just to make sure both of these are touching. In fact, I can pull it all the way over here. You'll see it automatically crossfades that edit point as well. I can do the same thing over on this side just to make sure that those edits are nice and clean. And then I can click here again to go back to quick swipe comping. One more day, don't ever tell me why. Don't you ever tell me why. 'Cause I don't want to know. Take one's pretty good there. Let's try out take two. 'Cause I don't want to know. I kind of like the first phrase better on that one. 'Cause I don't want to know. Yeah, so let's use, and then take three here. 'Cause I don't want to know. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I carried your heart when you needed me. Yeah, I didn't back off the mic enough there. It's not over modulating, but it's getting pretty close to it. I tear it hard when... That was just a mistake. Let's move on to the next one. I've carried your heart when you needed me. Yeah, let's use that one. I think the very first word is wrong, though. I've carried... It's just supposed to be I carried, not I've carried. So I think I'll substitute the first word of take 2 here. I've carried your heart when you needed me. Okay, so we're at the 20-minute mark. For brevity's sake, I did the rest of the edits off screen, but you can see now what a fully comped vocal looks like. With quick swipe comping, I'm able to easily combine different parts of each take to create a better sounding composite take. I'm not really a trained singer, so this is kind of the best I can do on the fly without doing more takes, of course. But once you're done, you can sort of collapse that down, and you can consolidate it by going to flatten and merge, just like we did before. And with some trims and fades on the vocal, here's what the whole thing sounds like. Now that you're sober, don't tell me that it's over. Don't turn this ship around and tell me that you can't give one more day. Don't ever tell me why. Don't you ever tell me why. 'Cause I don't want to know. I've carried your heart when you needed me. That's just how our love was meant to be. I keep on tearing through these tragedies. I took the brunt of your shame and all your misery. I gave you everything and you left me in the cold. And there you go. That's quick swipe comping in Logic Pro. We've created the best take we possibly could have out of these 3 takes that I recorded. Now, obviously, there are other things we can do to enhance the voice and tighten things up. We can apply vocal tuning, we can add compression and EQ. So there's a whole plethora of other things we need to do to make this vocal sound good. But editing is really the first thing you need to do after recording. Remember, this project is available below as a free download if you want to practice quick swipe comping yourself. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. As always, thank you so much for the support, and thanks for watching.